Hello, everyone. This episode is about you not building just a brand, but you are knowing that you're also building a legacy. So, this episode shifts you from building optics to building from origin. It's not about just quote unquote brand awareness, it is about identity anchoring. So, I'm teaching you how to stop asking, how do I look successful? And instead ask, what will live on because I showed up? So let's get into episode 4. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Vernita Glenn White, and welcome to the Remarkable Shift Live series show, where high achieving visionaries break free from recycled success models and finally step into their true alignment. This isn't just leadership talk or motivational fluff. This is where brilliance gets recalibrated, blind spots get dismantled, and bold authority gets activated. Here, we don't chase trends. We build legacies with precision. We don't just talk mindset, we rewire identities. And we don't just develop leaders, we unlock generational change agents. I'm your host, Dr. V, the Brilliance Solutionist and Master Recalibration Strategist for brilliance, authority, and precision. If you're ready to stop second guessing and start executing and rise into the version of you that you've always been, but it's been hidden in plain sight, let's shift remarkably. So we're talking about this reframe. And I want you to understand that a brand is what they recognize and a legacy is what they remember. So do you want to just be recognized or do you want to be remembered? A brand is visual. A legacy is visceral. Your colors and your copy, they do attract attention, but your conviction and clarity, what does that do? That's what changes people and that's what makes the people stay. So today I want to call you out of marketing mode and into movement mode. And I am talking to myself as well as I am talking to you. So let's talk about what legacy is and what it is not. And we're going to take a page out of a few people's books, right? So I want you to stay open as we dive into this next segment. So legacy isn't later, it is now. And too many people, they treat legacy like it's a retirement plan. And let me know if this is you. You think about, you know what, I'll figure this out once my money gets consistent or once I have a team in place, depending on if you're talking about legacy professionally or even in your life, because your life, you can have a team as well. You are not really thinking about the long-term impact, right? But here's the truth. You are not waiting for legacy. You are leaving it every time you speak, every time you post, every time you write, show up, or even when you shrink. That's what people don't understand. You staying in the shadows, you staying quiet, that's also a legacy that you are building. And you have to understand that legacy is what lingers after your presence leaves the room. It is not something that happens when you are long and gone, when you have died. No, it is the presence that stays in the room once you physically leave. It is the work that you do that cannot be undone. That is what legacy is. And it's not just about the lives you touch, but it is the standards that you set. And that is what we have to get back to, because a lot of us, and I'm going to put me in there, but I've gotten out of it. So I want to help you get out of it as well. You've been in this brand building trap. And we've all been taught this, especially if you're shifting from your professional space into an entrepreneurial space, or if you are in a place where you've reinvented, or I like to say recalibrated your life, and you know that personal branding is a thing, regardless if you want to be an entrepreneur or not. You've still been taught that your brand is just about your aesthetics. It is about being profitable, again, in any part of your life, and then being strategic. And yes, I'm a strategy girl, and I'm saying it's not just about being strategic, but we've been caught in that trap. And so those things do matter, but you have to ask yourself, what happens when the algorithm changes? Or if you are sending out emails, you have to ask yourself, what happens when those response rates are dropping? And I want to say this because some people forget this other side of you building a business and being entrepreneurship. You can still keep your job. There are people who are doing all of these same metrics and they are, wanting to collect emails for a lifestyle blog. They're doing things, for if they have a fashion business or newsletter or some of those little type of class that they're teaching that's not have to be this whole multi-million-dollar thing. So I want you to understand that even if you just want to have community engagement and you want to have a container where you're capturing people's attention and their contact information, this still applies to you. So don't just shut off and you're like, oh, I'm not in business. Yes, you are. You are a business of you. So I just want to put that out there before we keep going, because I know I see some people that may be clicking off, but this is for you as well. So again, when I talk about email open rates, don't just look at it through the lens of, oh, I don't have a business. Anything in your vision that's going to require you to network and contact people, you're going to put them somewhere, and you still need those email rates. All right. So anyway, but what do you do when those email rates that you've worked so hard to collect and gather and do all the things? What happens when those numbers don't add up? And then what happens when you don't feel like, quote unquote, performing that week? You don't feel like showing up as yourself. What happens when all of that goes through and you've only built just your brand? If you're only building a brand, then when those things disappear, you also disappear. And that is not what legacy building is. But if you built a legacy driven body of work, you still get to remain. From my professional side and how I started to get out of that trap, what was your research line? And that's what we had to do when I was a college professor. We had to build our research line. So you building your brand, which is legacy worthy, it is like, what is your legacy driven body of work? Like, what are you leaving behind that's uniquely yours? Because you have to understand that legacy leaders don't chase recognition. We have to get out of that trap as well, especially if you've been, successful in, in one area of your life. You're no longer chasing recognition. Now you are cultivating resonance. You're cultivating resonance. How are you resonating with people? That should be your main focus. So we want to make sure that we're going to anchor what the difference between brand and legacy. And you're going to hear that a lot. People are like, my brand. But now I want you to shift to my legacy. And hater or lover, I'm going to give you an example. And yeah, just be objective and just listen to the message, the lessons. We're going to talk about Beyonce for a second. Again, hater or lover, but you know that her brand is known by her visuals, is known by her tours, and it's known by the moments when she gets those awards, especially like the Grammys. But her legacy, that is being built through Renaissance, like her Renaissance tour, through Cowboy Carter, through her ownership, and through the silent power moves that shift culture. She has literally shifted cultures in so many different ways because she doesn't chase trends. She creates language. So you don't have to be Beyonce or have this powerhouse behind you to do those same exact things once you understand the difference between just having a brand and building legacy. You don't need more visuals, right? A lot of us have mastered the aesthetic, the visuals, right? But now this is a focus about you building your voice and not just like talking, but your voice identity. And that can happen between anything, but going back through looking at how Beyonce has done it, she's done that through her music, she's done that through what she's produced, and she's done that from all the things, whether it is luxury, not luxury, luxury because she stepped into that market with Tiffany, whether that's fashion, that she had her own brand, or whether that's a new style of music that she stepped into the country music space, and she's redefining what that is. You too can do that, but it starts with you not just focusing on a brand, but a legacy that you're building and your voice. So I want you to repeat after me after I say this. I'm going to say it one time, then I'll say it again so you can repeat it. My brand may introduce me, but my legacy is what will echo in rooms I never enter. One more time. My brand may introduce me, but my legacy is what will echo in rooms I've never entered. So you're not just creating content, and you might be saying, well, I'm not a content creator. I'm not doing videos. I'm not writing this. Anything that you do is content. Your life is content. So this is not just about creating more things, but now it's about how are you documenting what you are currently doing. That is still content. So when you get out of, I have to do this production and I can do this documentation, then you understand that you're not just being just a content creator. Now, there are people who just do content creation and that's their thing, but a lot of you are thought leaders and you are visionaries and you have these big visions. And so you may not see yourself as a content creator, but you are creating content through your life and the things that you're doing every day. And if you just switch that to documenting, then things will go a lot easier for you. But so instead, so when you have that lens, then you recognize that you are the one that's coding culture through your unique voice and what you're putting out into the world. So let's do a ecosystem energy check. I'm all about building your ecosystem and having things work for you, you being the hub, and then everything that you put out in multiple areas of your life. Those are the things that's building your ecosystem, things that are working for you. Those are your legacy drivers. So I want you to ask yourself, are you building a business or are you building a belief system? So long gone are the days where you just get some clients and you get some money and then you can, oh, now you're successful. But build are you being able to transfer your belief system that goes beyond just getting some clients? And then what about the work that you are doing that's not just a commodity. You're not just doing the next trend. You're not just following what someone else is doing. And now it's like, oh, everybody else is doing it. So let me create my version of that. Are you doing something beyond that? And then you have to ask yourself, have you mistaken your aesthetic for your assignment? Yeah, it may look pretty, but is that what you are called to do? And if someone binge watched everything that you've created, whether it was videos, whether it was articles you've written, books that you've written, or newsletters, or even presentations that you've done in your career space or in your community outreach, if someone just looked at your current body of work and binged it, would they be able to walk away knowing what you stood for? They're like, you know what? I got a really good sense of this person. Can that be said for what you are doing? And if not, that means it's time for you to recalibrate. It's not too late. You just need to recalibrate. Oh, I like that. It's not too late. It is, but it could be time for you to recalibrate. So what do legacy builders do differently? And this is the tactical part. I love talking high level, and then I want to also give you some tangible things that you can do right now, today, in this episode. So what do they do differently? They show up consistently without theatrics, right? So it's not about how you're feeling. It's not about trying to have this whole production thing together. You show up regardless, because legacy builders are on the content hamster wheel. And that was me for a minute. It's like, no, let me just create, let me just produce up there, because I thought that was being consistent, but that was with theatrics and that was not the vibe. So you want to make sure that you're building your content containers. And again, this will look different. I want to say this will look different for everyone depending on your big vision. How I was caught up in that trap because I was listening to someone else and following their recipe and thinking that I had to create all of these videos. I mean, it served me well at some point. Hey, I got content, right? But it didn't align with really what my big vision was. I just heard something, said, oh, that was good. Let me go ahead and crank out these 100 videos. Now the difference is how do I still create that content, but through my vision? So now that my message echoes versus just me having this volume of content. So understand that tweak. The second thing is to be sure that you make sure that you code your genius. Like, you want to make sure that it's not just a vibe. And I love it. One of my slogans is brilliance is a vibe. But now you're moving just from having a vibe to having your framework. And I can support you on this. And there are ways to uncover that. But you have to understand, what are my pillars? What are my positions? What is my position? And then how am I documenting that so it's repeatable and transferable? And this is not just for a business. You can do this in your career, things that you are making sure that you're putting frameworks around your genius and your IP. You can do this in your family life. I told you in previous episodes that there was this lady, Tracy Hensel, and she set up her whole life because her role was to phase herself out of a job as she was raising 5 daughters, right, to have them be productive citizens in society, and to make sure that they can be, self-sustaining adults. So she understood her pillars, she understood her position, and she documented and created systems that were repeatable and transferable. So you too can do this in multiple areas of your life if you filter through your vision. And then the next thing is that they protect their capacity. So you can't lead a legacy if you are leaking energy in every direction. That means you have to set real boundaries with yourself and with others. And you have to use discernment and have a deep sense of self-respect for yourself and your vision and the legacy that you want to leave behind, but that you're starting to work on today. So you have to understand your capacity. And then you have to understand that there are times where you do have to grow your capacity so that you can hold more, but that starts with plugging up those energy leaks that you currently have. And the final thing they do is they don't wait for validation. Too many of you are waiting, still waiting for validation. And I heard someone say, I think it was Ashley Kirkwood. I think she said it. I think that's where I heard it from. I don't know where she got it from, but I heard it from her. She said that so many people struggle with, well, I'm going to paraphrase because she was talking mainly about people moving just from career to entrepreneurship. But I'm going to say this for any area of your life. Too many people wait too many people are acting like employees in multiple areas of their life, meaning that they're waiting for people to tell them what to do. And there's nothing wrong with being an employee, but it is something wrong when you just have this mindset of, I'm waiting for somebody just to tell me what to do so I can do it. And that doesn't serve you in different areas of your life. There are about 18 of them, and you lead them. Even if you're working for someone else, you have other areas in your life that you're leading, but you're not leading and you're waiting for validation from a coach or a consultant or a strategist, an advisor, which we need wise counsel, but you don't need wise counsel to tell you what to do, right? So you're not operating where you need to be because you're still waiting for someone to validate instead of, for support and guidance and an objective view or an objective perspective to help guide you through those things. So and my role is to, in a sense, to confirm and to look at a bigger picture, but not tell you what to do. I fell into that trap where I was like, oh my gosh, I shipped out of my career and coming to this new space. Somebody just tell me what I need to do because somebody told me what I need to do to be successful in my career. And I was able to follow that. Now I broke some rules, but I had to know the rules so I could break them. It's not that you can't always look for that in different areas of your life. So let me know if that's landing for you. So you can't wait for validation. If you're going to be a legacy builder, you have to go first, whether that's first in your family, first in your community, first in your mind, right? So you have to say things and do things before it's trending and you become the source. My sister and I, we were talking the other day, and we used to be so into different things, especially before YouTube and things became big. And we were like, you know what? If we would have stayed on the path or we would have really understood, we could have been like trendsetters in a lot of different areas, but we just didn't. And now when things are coming around, we're like, wait, that's new to y'all? But, we can't really say much because it's like, you ain't said before it was trending. So how do we know that you didn't just jump on the bandwagon? You don't want to be in that situation. A lot of you have things that can be said, can be done, can be created before it becomes trending. And if you don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. And then you're going to be the one that's following the bandwagon. All right. So I do the same for after hours for the people who are coming into my community, my Amplify Your Authority community. Haven't quite opened up everything yet, but I am because I'm going to start doing my after hours series. I have some things to catch up on, but I want to make sure that you understand, like once you come into the community, part of the things that we're going to talk about, and especially as it relates to this episode, we're going to take a deeper dive into what it looked like when I recognized that I had just a recognizable brand, mostly in the professional space, but it didn't resonate because then I was trying to do the same thing that I did over there, coming into this entrepreneurial space. And it was like, yeah, I can see what you're doing, but it didn't really resonate and how I got out of that trap. And then I'll unpack what I had to walk away from and how I started leading with legacy work that felt like mine, other than just following what somebody else had laid out for me. So the title of that, we'll talk about from brand to body of work, the shift that changed everything. So you want to make sure that you're subscribed to the show at going to drvernitaglenn-white.com/remarkable shift. And that is in the description, or you can check my link tree. And then you want to make sure that you join my community, Amplify Your Authority, but you can comment down below and I can send you the invitation. So if you're ready to build something that outlives the metric, because we don't know what social media is going to do, you want to be sure to take the Authority Builder snapshot. And that is an audit to let you know where you are in your legacy building journey and what it actually looks like. So it is an awareness tool. It'll take about 5 to 7 minutes for you to go ahead and answer some questions, and then you will get an immediate response to see which category you fall into, and you can go to drvernitaglenn-white.com/authority builder. That is in the description below, or it will be in my bio. And so when you take that, then you're not starting from scratch. You'll recognize a lot of things that you've already done so that you can have a strategic path of where you need to go next. Now, while it is a generalized assessment and anybody can take it, you're filtering this through your lens. That's where the strategic work, if you want to move forward, that's where that strategic work comes from. So you can see how it works for you and not just a bunch of random strategies and you're still trying to piecemeal everything together. And that's what I have seen out here lately in these internet streets, that people are full of wisdom, knowledge, expertise, and experience. But it's like, okay, what do I do with all of this? So you're just trying to just grab pieces. And it's like, no, you need to build your whole ecosystem. And that's where you need to shift from just building a brand to now thinking about your legacy and taking a step back from just trying to monetize everything. Now, don't get me wrong. We do want to do that, but is more about what can I create that can move people forward, whether they pay for it or not. How are they still benefiting from the fact that I was here on this planet? A lot of you, if you don't know, my big mission is to bankrupt 1 billion burial plots to help 1 billion people live a life poured out above ground before all of their genius and brilliance goes underground with them. The whole backstory behind that, because I've seen too many people leave this earth without leaving their true legacy body of work behind, mainly my mother and my grandfather. And then I was like, okay, I don't want to be in that place because they have so much brilliance. And unfortunately, it is down in the burial ground with them. And I don't want that to happen to you or any of your loved ones. All right. So you have to understand that your shift isn't optional. And too many of us have been optional for so long, and it is overdue. Your shift is overdue. Your recalibration is overdue. And you have to understand that power is not given. It is exuded. And you have to move like you have already claimed it. So be sure to stay remarkable, and I will see you in the next shift. So until next time, bye.